Hello and welcome. In this video we're making shortbread with caramel and chocolate. Let's preheat the oven to 325 degrees and collect the ingredients we need to make shortbread with caramel and chocolate. We will need, for the shortbread, we will need 1 cup of butter, 1/2 cup of sugar, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and 2½ cups of flour. For the caramel, we will need 1 cup of sugar, 1/2 cup of brown sugar, 1/2 cup of butter, 1/2 cup of cream, 1/2 cup of milk, 1/2 cup of corn syrup, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, plus 6 ounces of dark chocolate. I have a medium bowl, and in it I've placed my butter, which I've allowed to come to room temperature, so it's nice and soft. And I've added the sugar to the butter, and I'm simply going to use my hand mixer, and I'm going to cream it until it's all nice and fluffy and well blended together. I'm going to add a teaspoon of vanilla and blend that into the butter and sugar. And now I'm going to incorporate the flour into the butter and sugar. And to avoid as much mess as I possibly can, I'm going to do a little at a time and start with low speed. So I've got all the flour incorporated, and you can see it's rather sandy. It is a short dough after all, meaning that it has a very high fat to flour ratio. But when I push it together, it comes together nicely. That's exactly what I want. I have a 9.5-inch spring-form pan, and I've sprayed it with baking spray. If you have a smaller spring-form pan, that'll be fine. I'm just going to take the dough and push it out of the bowl and into the spring-form pan. Now I'm simply going to press the dough as tightly as I possibly can into the pan. You can use a spatula, or you can even use your hands. Make sure it's good and packed in. I'm going to cover my dough with a bit of plastic wrap, and this will go into the refrigerator for about 30 minutes before baking. My shortbread dough has been in the refrigerator for about a half hour. I've preheated my oven to 325 degrees. We're going to remove the plastic, put it in the oven for about 30 minutes until it's just set up and just beginning to get golden. I've just taken the shortbread out of the oven, and you can see it's set nicely and it's just beginning to get golden brown. It was in the oven for about 40 minutes, and now I'm simply going to let it cool completely in the pan. I need to take my dark chocolate and I need to break it up into small pieces. So I'm just going to run my knife through it. I've set a medium pan on the stove, and I've connected to it my candy thermometer, and I'm simply going to add all of the ingredients to the pan. The milk and the cream, sugar, brown sugar, corn syrup, and butter. I'm going to turn the heat to medium. I'm going to let the butter melt, and I'm going to give it a whisk and let it all come together. Well, the butter's melted and all the ingredients are incorporated. Now I'm going to allow this mixture to come to a boil. My mixture is boiling, and I'm going to continue to let it boil until it reaches 250 degrees. That's the firm ball stage. And the reason why I want it to go to the firm ball stage is that when I pour it on top of my shortbread and it finally cools, it won't be hard as a rock, so I can still cut through the caramel. My caramel has been cooking for about 10 minutes, and it's just under 250 degrees, or firm ball stage. I'm going to turn off the heat, and I'm going to pour it directly on top of my shortbread. My caramel has just come off the stove. It's reached 250 degrees, that's firm ball stage. And now I'm simply going to pour it right on top of my shortbread. The caramel I've poured on my shortbread has cooled for about 5 minutes, but it's still plenty hot, which is good because I'm going to pour my chunks of chocolate on top and let it melt. Now I'm simply smoothing it out. I'm going to allow this to cool completely and then put it in the refrigerator for about an hour to make sure that the chocolate is nice and solid. My caramel shortbread has come out of the refrigerator, and you see the chocolate is nice and firm. That's exactly what I want. It can go in the refrigerator anywhere from a half hour to overnight. It's up to you. It depends on how much time you have. Just like to make sure that it spends enough time in the refrigerator to make sure that the chocolate gets nice and firm. And now I'm ready to take it out of the pan. To serve my caramel shortbread, I'm going to let it come to room temperature. Then I'm simply going to slice it in wedges. And there you have it. Caramel shortbread with chocolate. I hope you enjoy.